It's the time! Sega fake power time from China, yeah, but this is kinda interesting. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in today's video we are going to be doing a chit chat about this quite interesting Sega 16-bit device. So this is one of those very strange clones I've picked up some time ago from AliExpress. And if you can still find it, I don't know, because it's a very limited one. And that's what we're getting with a lot of these devices, that we can find them and out of nothing they pop up in the listing and then they're gone, maybe forever. But what is interesting, that not only this thing weighs like just a paperweight, that's one thing, like at least like the weight of it. So this does have some interesting features. To begin with, we do have like two USB ports at the front. Yeah, I don't know if you're going to be very happy with it, because I love to use my original controllers, so that is not possible. So in here we're having the HDMI. There is no AV out, so if you want to have like full old school retro mode with a CRT, you need to do some little bit of an, let's say, conversion from the HDMI to an AV out. We have an input for micro USB, because this thing runs on 5 volt, and this thing has a built-in Everdrive. Yes, seriously, like we can just play these old school games. Come with a 512 megabyte SD card. This is not like a really brand that is what they're doing a lot, so these things can get corrupted. You always need to be very careful. Sometimes it does contain the firmware, because this is more like a very strange, yeah, I'm putting it in putting it in wrong. But when it comes to devices, yeah, it's interesting but also strange, because this was one of those very cheap devices. You can already see, like, I tried to fix it a couple of times. Let's see to fix it again, but yeah, I barely used it and the dust cover already broke. And that's one of the things that we're getting when it comes to these cheap China devices. Power reset over here, and the controllers, yeah, we're going to be needing to use the controller that came with it. The D-pad has the floating D-pad configuration, and the ABXY button. Man, you can already hear it, it's really cheap. We don't have like some very sturdy construction, but yeah, I've been trying to plug in some other controllers, but didn't have any luck with that. But let's plug everything in. I get myself a 5 volt adapter or micro USB, and let's see what we're getting when it comes to the software itself. But you know what is interesting when you're going to be booting it up? I mean, this thing is kind of cool when it comes to the software, or at least it is interesting in many ways. So when you're going to be booting up the device itself, I think this is really interesting, because it does come with some interesting software. So the first boot attempt, you can actually see that it is running on some Android box. Yeah, and that is one of those Chinese products that I find already really interesting. So you can see that it even loads up some HDMI logos, but this was not licensed from HDMI itself. Yeah, they were using the software HDMI, not even calling it HDMI anymore. So this is one of the many interesting things that happens when it comes to buying some weird shenanigans from AliExpress. They are calling this the Game GNU, the classic 16-bit games flashback. But they are using the same kind of software of the first generation of devices, because you do need to press the B and C button for going into the different menus. So what we're getting is the cartridge slot. We can implement games we're going to be testing out, favorites. We have recent and been played. Then we have the TF card. So this is actually the TF card that has been implemented into the system. And yeah, you can add every single game. So this thing actually has like a freaking built-in, let's say, Everdrive. So moving on, we're having the STG games, then we're having the ACT games that are actually nothing, and the bonus games. So these are not doing anything when it comes to that, but we do have the option to actually play all kinds of games, and that is kind of cool. So the unfortunate part is we don't have any rewind button. So what we have, like the original game system, we have rewind and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say it's not implemented in the software, but it is not actually there. So we do have like double or duplicate games. But from here we can just actually boot up a game, pressing A, and we'll get into the menu. You have seen the, like, what the heck, Campus Girl Warrior 1 with no description. What is going on with that? That is some really weird stuff. But how about the emulation performance? Oh, it's not even, it is not even Sonic. It is the Phantasm Soldier Valus. What the heck? What the heck is going on with this weird shit? By pressing the reset, we have this extra menu where we can actually make in quick load and quick save and more save game slots. And we have a problem with focusing of my camera. I think my camera doesn't really like what I'm doing over here. Let's zoom out, but we can actually do all kinds of cool stuff and quitting. So let's press the button down on the D-pad and let's quit. And the menu itself works quite well when it comes to that. So let's see how we can go back. We can pressing C for adding this thing to the favorites, pressing B for going back. So, but we just wanted to see how it is when it comes to the emulation performance and how does it actually work. Let's check out DJ Boy. Is this actually going to be DJ Boy and another shenanigans? No, it's going to be DJ Boy. So they implemented aspect ratio, so that's absolutely awesome. So let's check out how the gameplay is so far. It seems to be working just fine, no weird shenanigans of the emulation performance. But when it comes to that, so that's one of the things I'm really surprised by when it comes to this particular Sega device or this 16-bit with Android device. Yeah, this is absolutely crazy. So, but yeah, there is no menu button, so we need to reuse the system itself for going back. So what you already, maybe you already have noticed it. So we're pressing the reset. You can also have the scan line filter and you can just turn it on and off if you want to. So when it comes to making quick load, quick save, there's a lot of cool features in this thing. But the overall emulation performance is not bad itself. I'm quite surprised how good it works. And yeah, I already mentioned before, I don't know if you can still find this particular device. I think that is the biggest problem when these, let's say, Chinese, let's say, websites like AliExpress, sometimes you find these really cool devices and they're really worth picking up. I don't know exactly how much I've paid for, but I can tell you this is like a $20 device. So that is one thing you need to take consideration with these devices. It also comes with a hefty price point. Okay, so next up with some Golden Axe. Man, this is a game I've played so much. So when we do have like a couple of games, I must say that I played number one the most. And I'm always messing this part up. Man, this is not my game, I can tell you that. After all of these years, I still suck at this. I'm getting my ass kicked by the guys. Splatterhouse 2 is one of those very cool games. I personally never played back in the day. They were absolutely core to the maximum level for it back in the day, beside of course the Mortal Kombat games, but that was such a cool game. I also played the arcade version. That was kind of a cool deal. Where there's just like a basic side color, in my opinion. They are a lot of fun. Okay, let's see. Yeah, just jump into it. And let's jump over it and let's go. I don't have this particular one. Yep, with the weapon. Oh, this was so cool. Splatter bonus. Yeah. Oh, so cool, man. I guess they'll also... Didn't they like make a remake of it? I think it's a very expensive game now. But the remake was really brutal with some awesome music. So when it comes to the Sega Genesis, man, oh man, what amazing games are still on here to actually enjoy. Sparks is one of those games I've never like owned back in the day. Another really hidden gem when it comes to playing, let's say, Sega Genesis games. Unfortunately, another very expensive title to buy. And that's of course what happens nowadays a lot. Oh crap, I messed it up big time. But let's move into some Sonic and Knuckles, and the reason why, because I just wanted to check out how is the overall quality of the audio. And I can tell you that the emulation performance is not bad at all. Do I have the idea there is a delay or what? Audio-wise it can be better. I mean, particularly when you're going to be nitpicking about stuff, but I think if you're going to be giving this let's say a number, I think it's going to be a 7 out of 10. Maybe one of the best, let's say, clones I've been seeing throughout the years. Don't see any screen tearing or weird shenanigans. Everything seems to be working as it is. But you know what's going to be fun is trying to play these games from the cartridge itself. So we're not going to be powering it on and off because it takes forever to boot this bloody thing up. That is one thing to be sure. And I think that's maybe one of the biggest downside. So let's quit the menu. Let's go all the way back because we have the cartridge slot. Let's plug in this freaking game and let's see what is going to be happening. Oh, need to press the B. So I am afraid, yeah, that we do need to reboot this thing. Okay, so it does do something now. I'm guessing it's loading up the game. Okay, so we're not going to be using the combination for now. We're going to be doing that later on. Would be fun to check out if we can actually load up the cartridge combination, if it even going to be recognized. We have seen a lot of those ad game systems. The old and new one has a lot of struggles with it because of the technology they were using inside of this. And man, this loading time, I'm just keep talking because I just wanted to showcase how long it actually takes. And we're ready to go. Come on. Can we play? It loads up the... Oh, seriously? Oh, man. So, if you're going to be plugging in, it's getting into some weird boot loop. But I managed to get into the game. So, you can see actually Sonic & Knuckles, it recognizes the game. And this has nothing to do with the SD card on the inside. So, let's boot it up. Or at least check out which button I need to press. Hello. Oh man, it just froze on me. But let's give this thing another attempt to see if this is going to be working. We're going to be plugging in the Bare Knuckles game. And now we do have not the same problem that we have with the Knuckles game. Let's see if it even boots up. Yep, it does boot up. So when it comes to playing games, it's going to be a hit or miss. So not everything is compatible. So let's get into some old school Street of Rage number 3. And this is going to be fun because this is not the original one. Yep. We can actually play with Sonic in Street of Rage number 2 or 3. Sorry, having a brain fart over there. But the thing is, we have all kinds of weird configurations of games. Yeah, the unfortunate part is you can just actually see where this isn't a very cool idea where we can play original games. It is very limited with some parts. I think the coolest about this system is that we can actually play through the SD card. I think if it didn't have the SD card, we do had like an overall bad experience. Yeah, you're not going to be able to plug in multi-game cards or Everdrives, and that has to do because this thing is loading in the ROM of the cartridge into the system. And configuration that we have seen before with game systems like RedROM. But emulation performance is pretty good. So when it comes to that particular part, it's quite nice. So when it comes to making a quick load, quick save, it's kind of weird because actually, even if you can make a quick load, quick save, it doesn't really show, it doesn't really save it to, let's say, the cartridge itself, just some weird thing. So when it comes to that part, I would just use it for actually the card game or the TF card games or the SD card part or about that. But so when it comes to emulation performance, yeah, this is such a weird system. It's like a weird knockoff of it, let's say, the ad game system we have reviewed here on the channel. We did review a couple of them. And yeah, some of them were pretty bad, some of them pretty good. I think the last released ad game system, I personally wish I owned it, like kept it in the collection, because after making a review of the, let's say, ad game system, I didn't keep it in the collection, because that was maybe one of the best ones out there, where this is actually one of those clones that they cloned from the first generation. But so far everything seems to be working fine when it comes for playing games, so that's kind of cool when it comes to that. So emulation performance is surprisingly good. But how about in the inside? Let's do a quick peek. Yeah, what is kind of weird that the on and off switch doesn't do anything. It's man, this thing is so bricked, you don't want to know. So yeah, and the quality of the shell, oh boy. Oh man, this is really bad. This is like really bad. So let's open it up. What we need to do is removing the rubber pads or rubber, let's say, grips underneath, and then we can just put a Phillips screwdriver in there and open it up. And maybe we can just even fix the freaking cover, because it's a little bit of a bummer that is already broken. And I only use this thing for making a review, and that's it. Like testing it, recording it, and that's it. So when it comes to the software, also when it comes to the USB ports, another, let's say, big problem of it. So if you want to use different controllers, it's going to be an issue. if you're going to be having problems with the original controller. But we have seen that before with AliExpress products, that they are like plugged in, ready to go controllers. And if they are getting broken, you do have a problem itself. So that's something we're going to be checking out. Is the spring still in here? Yep, the spring is still in here, so that's good. Okay, so we can maybe try to fix that. But let's take a close look at the PCB itself. So this thing is actually running on a ROG chip, the RK3036G. So this is an interesting concept because this is something you don't see very often. I think that's called the Monkey King they're using on most of these, let's say, devices. But this is actually just an Android box, and the other way it just actually makes sense. So configuration-wise, this thing is actually produced in 2019 already. So that's what we're getting with these Chinese companies, that they're like reusing PCBs or just making something and just putting it on stock for a very long time. So we're having this cable going to the front part, where we're having the two switches for turning the device or resetting it, the LED in the middle. It also connects the USB port. So that's it. But let's try to fix the freaking dust cover, because it would be nice to have this thing in my collection that is actually not broken. But I want just to give you a quick look in the inside how the spring actually works. So normally we're having like one on each side or a very thick one, but you can see like how cheap this is made. So I did a little bending to the spring because it's a very thin material, but you can see that now everything seems to be working fine. I think the biggest problem we're facing is that this thing isn't aligned, or at least in this, let's say, part over there, and that is the problem why it just slipped out. You see when it's bending all the way back. It will still stay in this position, but yeah, this is a returning problem. I can use some pliers to do a little bit of wiggling, but it's just, I think, the way how cheap these like freaking springs are. And this, by the way, in general problem of all of these clone consoles most of the time. So when it comes for deep diving into the jungle of clone devices, this is one of those, I can say, hidden gems in a way that you would not expect. This is just an interesting, let's say, concept, an Android box that has some old ad games rip-off software, where we have the option to play all kinds of games on, let's say, kind of good overall emulation base, where this is not absolutely 100% perfect. It's still pretty enjoyable, but the overall configuration when it comes to playing games from Cartridge is absolutely horrible. Yeah, thank you all for watching. Join me if you love this deep dive into weird products from AliExpress, and it would be great to see you in the next video.